So you have a lot more depth at running back right now than you did in the spring. Just what have you seen just in these early couple days of the three, I'll call them freshmen, but obviously Trevor's come back for second year. But.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of talent in the room. Those young guys are working hard, trying to get them to learn the system, and cut it loose and play fast. But as you mentioned, a lot of old guys with experience who've played well in big games, and then certainly a lot of young guys with talent that we got to get caught up to speed and give those guys an opportunity.
It's always the adage that the running backs could play early in terms of their career. That's not necessarily a developmental position like an offensive lineman is. Do you see these guys and Byron and Seven in particular as guys who, if in the event that you had to go that route early on, that they would be capable?
Yeah, they certainly have the talent. We've got to give them some experience and reps in camp. And I think if they're provided the opportunity, based on how the season unfolds, I have the utmost confidence in those young guys.
Where have you seen the largest progressions from the three young quarterbacks?
The three young quarterbacks?
Yeah,
I think all three had a solid spring, and I think it'll be the continued understanding of the offensive system. Taking the information from the meeting room to the field, and then just a high level of execution, right? Moving the football, creating explosive plays, and limiting turnovers. So I think, to answer your question, I think the understanding of our offense, I'd see that's the biggest area of growth for those guys.
How much catching up did Robbie do during those 2 weeks when he was full on football there for you in the spring?
Yeah, we very rarely miss Robbie. During the time where he was doing both, he did a great job for the time that he missed coming in on his own and making those things up. So that was something where obviously it's difficult to be a two-sport athlete at a school like Oregon and do both successfully, but there was a good schedule set up, and he worked on his own very well.
How thick was last year's playbook in a condensed, very few practice situation compared to now, where you have the time with the guys?
Yeah, we was certainly a truncated spring ball. We had four practice opportunities, and weren't sure we were going to play the season. The rest of the country was playing, and we were sitting here kind of doing walkthroughs and doing Zoom meetings and things like that. And all of a sudden, October 7th, we're going to play the season. So certainly, we weren't able to do everything from a systematic standpoint last year that this offense has done through the years. But now with a full spring ball, a full summer, full fall camp, I think we'll be able to take those positive steps forward with a more elaborate, that's not a word, a more comprehensive application of the offense.
How big is Anthony just for the younger guys in that quarterback room, knowing he's a veteran guy, been there around the block a little bit?
Yeah, he's played a lot of football at a very high level. Guys thrown for almost 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns and been in a bunch of different offenses. And he's a super smart kid. He's got a great presence about him, very mature. And I think, he always takes the opportunity to share some of that wisdom with the young guys, and they're also very receptive to his teaching as well.
Whether it be in the meeting room or in these first couple days on the field for him, I know in the offseason he and Robbie met with Quincy. They went down there. He went down to Manning. What have you seen that he gained from the summer that he had?
I think it's a refinement. I don't think it's necessarily anything new, but some quarterback coaches they don't want their guys to work with other guys. I think guys like Quincy and other guys throughout the country. Anytime you have an opportunity to work extra on your craft like you did with Quincy and down at Manning, I think that can only make the quarterbacks better. So I think it was more of a refinement and improvement of his skill than any wholesale changes.
You used Tyler and Anthony last year. Could you foresee a scenario where you use multiple quarterbacks on a regular basis this season?
Meaning
different packages?
Yeah, in the past, I think the ultimate decision on that is a program decision. But speaking personally, and I think you want to have a starter, right? And then you want to have a 2 and a 3 behind them that are capable and ready if their number's called upon. In years past at different schools, we've had two QB packages with guys in the game at the same time. But to me, you want a starter. You want to go with that guy, and then have 2, 3, and 4 ready if their number's called upon.
Do you want a clear cut 2, 3, and 4 too, or can that fluctuate up and down during the season?
Coach fosters an atmosphere of competition here, and I think that makes everybody better. So at a certain point, you're going to have to name a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4, just for practice and rep purposes. But to the standpoint that that's always going to be static and be the same throughout the whole season, we're always competing, and guys have opportunities. You don't have to like the spot you're in, but you have to work to change it.
With one less scrimmage in the fall, Joe, does that make the first scrimmage that much almost more important from an evaluation standpoint if you're going to try and draw demarcation lines and
Yeah.
roles and reps and
Relative to overall or just the QBs?
the QBs?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys are getting a ton of reps every practice, and then certainly, you know, the 2 Saturday opportunities, you know, shine a brighter light on the evaluation process. So, yeah, just like spring, I think those scrimmages will play a big role.
Coach, although the
some positions like receiver, offensive line, you've got some real up-and-comers.
Yeah.
And yet because of the seniors who came back, there's a lot of returning veterans too. Does it feel like a more complicated fall, you know, because of the COVID year and the eligibility situation? A lot more. Does it feel like there's a lot more to sort through personnel-wise?
There's more to sort through, yes, and I think that's a good thing. When you look across the board, you know, this is only my second year, but Coach Cristobal's obviously recruited at a very high level. So when you have not just depth, but quality depth across the board, you know, it forces everyone to compete, and it allows us to make some difficult decisions. But I would much rather be in a situation where you have to choose between a bunch of good guys, where, you know, the opposite. Where you're, you know, you have a bunch of good guys at the ones, and then it's a fall off from there. So I think this is the choices we have to make with the significant amount of depth is a good problem.
Coach, so although the college and pro often use a spread, they also go under center a lot.
Yep.
The Ducks haven't gone under center maybe a handful of times in the last 10 years.
Yep.
Why is that? Can we look forward to a change without giving anything away?
Who knows? We'll work some gun, work some pistol, maybe some pro style under center, maybe wing T. Home Depot, maybe about to be on. Not sure there'll be time. So we'll see. We'll see how it unfolds.
Mario was saying yesterday that Dante and Troy, from being in the spring, kind of look like veterans out there. I guess, where have you seen progress with those two?
No, I think it's incredibly valuable when any incoming freshman can enroll mid-year because of the 15 opportunities they get in the spring. So it's almost like you're looking at those guys as not a second-year player, but like a 1.5-year player. But that exposure to this level of football in spring and then carrying it, you know, through summer and into fall, you know, it's you know, like those guys, and just using the other, like Isaiah, they're on different levels right now just because move my elbows around, because they've been here longer and have had more reps.
Not many encourage that though. Do you encourage guys enrolling early? Is that something? Not that you
personally?
require them to, but is that something you want them to do?
I think that's an individual decision for the kid and their family. I think personally, from a quarterback perspective, if it's not something where, you know, you want to graduate your class, you know, go through all the things second semester, you know, go to prom, all those things. But if it's something that a kid wants, I would never make someone do it, and I don't think you can. But I think for the quarterback position, you know, those reps are invaluable if it's something that the family wants to do.
Not many tight ends.
You have at tight end.
Sorry?
The option. What do you think of the options you have at tight end and just kind of the growth that you've seen from that group?
They're multiple. You know, and it's you know, like we're talking to everyone else, it's a deep position. You know, Coach Williams does a great job developing them, and they all have a little bit of a different style. And then, like you talked about with the receiver, you know, Mo and Terrence came in mid-year, got a bunch of good reps. So everyone's fighting for opportunities at that position.
Have you had a tight end room as both vast and also, other than DJ, who's obviously not here right now, where you didn't have a chance to work with any of them on the field last year? I mean, Spencer for a handful of plays, but I mean, realistically,
What was the first part of the question?
have you ever had a tight end room as vast in depth? You're 6 deep, but on the other hand, you don't have game experience to lean on, or very limited game experience to lean on to evaluate.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know, thinking back, we've always had guys that have, you know, where you're, you know, outside of DJ and Spence, you know, some of those other guys have not had a significant role. But yeah, you'd rather sacrifice the talent, you know, for the experience, if that makes sense.
What have you liked about Oregon so far during the time you're here?
Like what specifically? Like,
well, what Eugene in specific?
Eugene?
Mm-hmm.
The state overall. I mean, I think there's a bunch of like cool scenic things to do. You know, Crater Lake, a bunch of the fall hikes, taking the RV out to a bunch of different places. You know, my oldest son went to Marist. He's graduated. My youngest one goes to O'Hara. You know, a bunch of good food here, a bunch of good people. You know, it's a good time.